What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another Best Bet show. It is halftime of the London game. I guess there's 6 seconds left, but halftime of the London game. Trevor Lawrence did just kneel. And it's a interesting game over there. 14-3. Bears just took the lead. Cole Kmet with 2 touchdowns. Waiting on DeAndre Swift to get a little more receptions for my liking. But another day, another game that the Jaguars just seem to absolutely underperform. And hopefully they give us a good London game because I feel like these London games have been pretty poor. Come on to YouTube to chat. I know I'm live on Twitter or X. Is it officially X now? Does everybody call it? X, or is it still Twitter? I don't think I'll ever be able to say X. I'm not going to lie. I feel like it's always just going to be Twitter. But we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. We could talk about touchdown props. We could talk about long shot things, etc. Whatever you guys kind of want to do. Let me see here. Let me plug it in real quick. Okay, so the 1:00 games are coming up. We have about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Let's just talk about the Commanders and the Ravens to start off. I'm going to pull up FanDuel as my book of choice right now. And we can kind of talk a lot of scoring. If you want to talk about SGP or props in this is a game you're probably going to want to do. I mean, it is a decently high spread of 6.5. I wonder if I could just present my screen. Let's see. Can I do a layout like this? If I present though, is it going to ruin my box? That's weird. Should I just keep it like that? Maybe get rid of the box. All right, hold on. Bear with me. Why is it like that? There we go. Can you guys all see that? Can you guys all see this stuff here? All right, so we got Commanders and the Ravens. I mean, you got a 51-point spread, 51.5. Ravens, obviously the favorites, but the Commanders, the Commanders are showing out. The NFC East, can the Eagles climb back up? They're 2-2. The Cowboys are 3-2. Commanders at 4-1. And the Commanders at 155 points scored this season. It should be the second most, I believe. And that's only because the 49ers just played on Thursday. So take away those 8 points that the 49ers scored more. The Commanders scored the most points out of any team in the league through 5 weeks. And that's because Jaden Daniels has been unbelievable. Brian Robinson is ruled out. Austin Ekeler is probably my favorite play for this game. Posted it on Twitter already. In the receiving prop side of things, Austin Ekeler now at 21.5. We got him at the 20.5. Some people got him at 19.5. With losing game script, I just don't see how that doesn't hit. If we're being honest, I feel like the wide receiver game too. The Ravens have allowed a ton of yards to wide receivers. That's because they've been winning a lot. Kind of makes sense. A lot of receptions as well. And both defense, the Commanders defense is not good. The Ravens defense is good, but a lot of guys on Jaden Daniels passing yards. This is an interesting matchup to see Lamar versus Jaden Daniels. Two good rushing threats. Jaden Daniels, probably the best rushing quarterback we've seen, has similar style to Lamar Jackson, has a great arm as well. So this should be a good game for Jaden Daniels. I think he kind of steps up to the plate here. But a lot of good receiving yards, props, a lot of good lines here, especially given how this game is going to go. Now, obviously, the Commanders are going to have to show that they can move the ball against a great defense. You look at the Commanders' schedule so far, and it hasn't really been too crazy. Let's see. They lost to the Bucs, who just showed out that week. The Bucs are great in the passing game, and the Commanders struggle there. So they got torched by the Bucs. Baker Mayfield showed out. Mike Evans showed out. Then they faced the Giants. They beat the Giants. The Giants honestly should have won that game. I don't think they got any extra points or any field goals in that game. That was just one of those weird fluke games. They beat the Bengals. The Bengals are struggling. Beat the Cardinals. They just absolutely stomped the Cardinals. And then they beat the Browns, who we know are trash. So they do get to play that whole AFC North, which we thought was going to be good. And apparently the Bengals and the Browns just are the bottom of the barrel. But the Commanders, they do have to face the Ravens. And then they face the Panthers, Bears, Giants again. This is really their biggest test of the season as far as teams go. This is a great test to see if they're contenders or pretenders. If you're gonna want to bet, like if you're not high on the Commanders and you still think the Eagles now getting AJ Brown back, etc., and these teams are good, and maybe you want to take a stab at the Eagles at plus 130 to win the NFC East, you could take that. But the Commanders still at plus 200 to win the NFC East, and they're 4-1 is pretty crazy if you ask me. I know obviously they weren't favored to start the year, but then those prices are kind of insane. I mean, you could still think the 49ers are going to win. I think there's good value in picking some division winners at this point because we've seen some sample size and there's been some injuries, and if you can play those injuries right, I think there's a lot of stuff to be made. So maybe we'll do a division parlay, but I kind of wish I did it before these games start. But either way, Commanders, Ravens. I love Austin Ekeler. TD score props are all very well priced besides Derrick Henry. His anytime is minus 270. And I believe his 2+ is like plus 180 or something, plus 170. That is ridiculous. I would never bet that in my life. If you're betting Derrick Henry 2+ touchdowns at plus 170, you got to call the number. You got to call the number because that is just absolutely absurd. But there's some good value here. Again, we said the Commanders allow the most receiving touchdowns to wide receivers at 10, and the Ravens are the second most at 8. Again, their rush defense is very good, and teams are trailing. So if you want to bet some receiving touchdown props, like Zay Flowers to me at plus 140 is a great price. Terry McLaurin at plus 170. And then even get guys like Isaiah Likely at plus 300. He kind of plays that weird. They play that 2 tight end set, and he's kind of like a glorified tight end wide receiver. Rashad Bateman has been getting some good looks. And in general, I think the Ravens, if they can throw the ball and just take advantage of the secondary, there's a lot of value in those receiving props. And again, going back to those Lamar passing touchdowns, like we know teams get their passing touchdowns against the Commanders, and Lamar's at over 1.5 minus 125. So if he's juiced there and you think he's going to score 2 receiving touchdowns, then I don't think Derrick Henry's a part of that. That means he can't run it in. That means it's got to be 2 of somebody else. I mean, it could be Justice Hill, who's the receiving back, but I just feel like there's so much value in that game to pass up. And if you're going to do an SGP or some sort of moonshot, someone's going to hit something in that game. So definitely keep an eye on that one. I wouldn't touch the spread. I think the Ravens do win this game, but touchdown spreads for me are a little too much. So I'm probably staying away. And you have the Bucs and the Saints. And the Bucs and the Saints is interesting because Derek Carr's out. You got Spencer Rattler playing. You have no idea what he's gonna do. Passing yards set at 183. Passing touchdowns is set at 0.5. They do have the Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore stuff going on today. It should be an interesting game, divisional game. It's going to be a much needed victory for the Saints. The Bucs are 3-2, tied with the Falcons, and the Saints are 2-3. With that Derek Carr injury, it's tough for me to not take. It's tough for me to not take the Bucs. I know it opened up about -1. Now it's 3.5. But you want to talk about a team that's been pretty good in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Defense has been, I wish, a little better, but their offense has been great. It's going to be a nitty-gritty game. Rachaad White is out, which does hurt them, but Bucky Irving has showed so much signs of promise, and now he should have a full workload. Sky's the limit there. If he can establish the run game, I don't see how the Saints can pull this off. And I don't know if I trust Rattler to pull off you know, 2-minute drill fourth quarter to try to keep this game alive. I just don't see that happening. So for me, I'm probably leaning the Bucks. It's a good money line price if you want to put that in a parlay or something. -3.5. I probably buy a point to or half a point to -3. But if your guns to your head, I think the -3.5 is still a good look, even though they're on the road. Um, and then the Browns and the Eagles again. This was 9.5, came back down to 8.5. Are the Browns as bad as we think they are? Is Deshaun Watson as bad as we think he is? I don't know. I mean, he's been the worst quarterback to put a uniform on this year, and there's been some rookie quarterbacks that have looked pretty poor. The Eagles team getting everybody back. AJ Brown. I'm just want to double check their depth chart if everyone is playing. Eagles offense looked obviously it was very narrow, very one dimensional, but now they have AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, both with no injury designations. It says both playing, and I think they just absolutely run all over this Browns team. And Jalen Hurts with his weapons back, having AJ Brown opens up the field for Devonta Smith, and vice versa. So they can really show out and be their Eagles that we know they can be in a much needed game. If they lose this game, they could probably kiss the division goodbye. But 8.5 point favorites, the books are onto the same thing. We're on Amari Cooper. 50 plus receiving yards. Let's see where receiving yards is at now. 52.5. We think they're going to be passing all game long, and he just leads. He has so much targets, so we're going to stick it to there. As far as the Colts and the Titans divisional game, super wonky. I hate playing these divisional games. I like to lean field goals, but I'm not touching it. I'm not touching the Drake May Patriots first game either. And then you have the Cardinals and the Packers. This game is very interesting because Packers are going to try to establish the run game. The Cardinals have been very good. I mean, they've been kind of inconsistent, but they could beat anyone on any given day. And at 2-3 in the division, this is a must-win for them too, especially with the Seahawks and Niners being in their division. So it's going to be, I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think we have Josh Jacobs rush yards. I think they're going to establish the run game. The Jordan Love injury and him coming back and the wide receivers. I feel like we expected a better offense from the Packers through these weeks with their wide receiver room. But there's been some injuries, quarterbacks, some wide receivers. But I think they'll figure it out in the next couple weeks. And I think this is when we see them kind of take over, especially in Lambeau. 5.5. I probably do lean the Packers here. I think if the Cardinals cover their spread, I think they win outright. I think that's kind of the way I see this game going. But I do lean the Packers there for sure. And you can lean James Conner. I think they're both going to try to establish the run game. I think both teams really need to focus on that. So that's going to be the point of emphasis. See who could win in the trenches. That's really going to be what that game is going to be all about. We have Chargers, Broncos here at a disgusting total. I mean, look at these two totals here. You have the Steelers and the Raiders, Chargers and Broncos. Are those games you really want to bet on? I'm going to say probably not. That's just my honest opinions. I did bet a Justin Herbert under in his passing yards, but both those games, there's no reason to watch that with how many games we have this Sunday. Even the Falcons, Panthers, I think the Falcons steamroll. I think they just Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson, and then if Kirk Cousins can keep the defense honest, he should just slice and dice. This is probably the best game on the board, which means it's probably going to be a blowout. But I think the Lions are going to want revenge here. I think this is a game last year that they didn't go for two, or I think Dan Campbell did something really stupid. My brain's kind of having a fart moment right there. But close spread in a dome. I have 3 units deployed on the Cowboys kicking props in this one. So that one's going to have to be a must watch for me. But it's in a dome. 2 teams that are very good offensively. The Lions have a great rushing offense. The one thing the Cowboys have done really poorly is defend the run. But they did show promise last week against the Steelers. But Lions off a bye are going to be kind of scary. However, I do think both teams move the ball. The Lions secondary we know is not very good. The Lions, even the rush defense with some injuries, has been a lot worse as of late, as we saw Kenneth Walker do some damage versus them the week before last week, I believe it was. Another game where if you want to do an SGP with some touchdown scorers or some yards props, this is the one. Um, Everyone's on Lamb. I think we can see one of the wide receiver 2 or 3 here for the Cowboys kind of go crazy. But yeah, this one should be fun to watch. Should be a lot of touchdowns in that game. And I'm happy it's at 4:00 because the 4:00 games are awful. I mean, it's the only 4:00 game worth watching. If you're gonna bet someone, I think you have to take the Lions -3 just strictly off a bye. I actually, if they weren't off a bye, I'd probably take the Cowboys with the points at home just because I think they're kind of getting disrespected. But I think off the bye, Lions need to chase the Vikings, and now they have to fight for the wild card if the Vikings are never going to lose a game. So to me, I'd probably take the Lions with -3, maybe get a -2.5 somewhere. But off a bye, Dan Campbell, revenge from last season. I don't really see how they don't come out hot in this game. Um, but yeah, Bengals and Giants. I don't know how this is a 3.5 point spread. I know the Giants have been, playing a lot better as of late. I think this is a buy low on the Bengals. I think Joe Burrow is going to have himself put on a clinic in this one. That's just my honest opinion. I think as a Giants fan, I don't see how they're going to compete, but it is a primetime game, so it should be interesting. We're going to head over to DraftKings pick 6 here. Hold on. Let's see. Can we get the pick 6 open? Share screen. We're going to do our weekly DraftKings pick 6 entry. Remember, download DraftKings pick 6. Take advantage of the new DFS book that we have out here. Let me see here. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Let me make sure this is up. And it's play $5, get $50 instantly in pick 6 credits. That's what you're going to get on the DraftKings pick 6. And again, you're going to want to play some props that are a little off on some books. You could probably get some good touchdown props here. They're really limited you on here. Lamar Jackson, we saw over 1.5 was -125. We're probably going to take that in this pick 6 entry. I was kind of hoping I'd get that. And you want to look at some numbers here that would be juiced on some other books. I probably wouldn't take the yards. I think the receptions on this DFS app are the way to go. You could probably get some ones that are, juice a certain way or whatever you may see fit. Let's see here. Terry McLaurin, Devonta Smith, Stephon Diggs. You got completions, interceptions thrown. Yeah, any game Anthony Richardson's in that he's playing in, I'm probably going to take his interception. And I could pull up what his odds are here on Odds Jam. And I could see what they have as the true odds. Player interceptions. Yeah, -130 on like all books. So we're gonna want to take that for sure. Richardson interceptions thrown, and I could look at everyone's on here if we're being honest. Baker Mayfield's kind of priced right. CJ Stroud is plus money to the over. So honestly, we could take the under here. It's plus 110, it's -140. And it could just be a straight interceptions play because you want to take the ones that are super juice. Lamar Jackson again is -135. We could take this one off and we could just do an interceptions play here, just strictly based off odds. I mean, Jaden Daniels over 0.5 is at -145. We can even do that. Interceptions thrown, 2 overs, 2 unders. and call it a day. You know what I mean? That's just as simple as what we can do here. Let me see. And I love it. Again, make sure you get DraftKings Pick Six, play $5, get $50 instantly in Pick Six credits. Don't miss out. Use my code in the comment below, or I'm also going to tweet this on top of the show to make sure that we kind of get it all, and make sure you guys can have at it. It is 11:09. It's been 20 minutes. It's been real. Uh, take advantage of all these Sundays as football season's already in week 6. Best of luck on your bets, and let's have a fantastic Sunday.